Good evening, Mustangs fans. Josh Sherman here, voice of the Peoria Mustangs. You can see joined by my trusty sidekick, Brandon Luisi, for a brand new, fresh edition of Around the Stable. Going to kind of take a peek at last weekend. Mustangs kind of hit a little bit of turbulence here recently. They won one at home against Oregon, went up to Granite City, Sauk Rapids, Minnesota, dropped a pair there, came back home against Rochester, dropped a pair this past weekend against the Grizzlies. Friday night, looking at the game, 3-1 loss. Rochester scored twice, went up 2-0 on the power play. Justin Hubble put one in the back of the net, an absolute beauty of a shot. Found Hubble streaking towards the net, put it in the back of the net, made it a 2-1 game at that time. When that happened, Brandon, could you feel like a momentum build and a little bit of a momentum shift?
Actually, yeah, I did feel the momentum shift a little bit. I mean, it was a power play goal, and if you remember from Friday night, the power play was kind of struggling for the first few power plays, and the Mustangs got one on the board, and it felt like the tides were turning. They were spending more time in their offensive zone, which was great, but unfortunately, just unable to find that second one.
Yeah, down by a goal, 13-10 of the period. Ruslan Ospinov put a insurance tally in, young man from Kazakhstan, and Rochester skated on to that 3-1 victory. Cam Pendleton between the pipes stopped 37 of 40 shots. Honest night's work for Cam, stopping 37 shots between the pipes. But I mean, all in all, you can look at the scoreboard and say a loss is lost, but Cam played really steady between the pipes.
My goodness, yeah, the amount of 10 bell saves Cam had to make that night, and we'll get into Saturday night too, but I think you said 37 of 40. I mean, gosh, that game could have been 6-1, 7-1. I mean, he kept the Mustangs in it for 60 minutes, gave them all the opportunity. It was just unable to find that second one, like we mentioned.
Definitely a start worth a steak dinner and a big baked potato, if you ask me. Cam been getting a lot of work here as of lately. Just and having a little bit of trouble getting the chips to fall in his favor. And I mean, if we go back the last four series, it's kind of been that way from goaltending to the whole aspect of the team, just unable to get chips to fall. If you're head coach Steve Ortman, associate head coach Blake Ortman, what's your message to guys right now, just kind of to keep the spirits high?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta keep playing, in the structure that they've built all season. I mean, this team has impressed us and gone on winning streaks throughout the season. Right now they're hitting a little bit of a rough patch, and to keep that confidence high, you just got to stick with it. And you got to, I mean, I know it's hard. You're on a bit of a losing streak, and not getting wins or goals on the board, but you continue to work hard, you continue to put in the effort, and again, you got to look at the bigger picture too, right? We're going to talk about next weekend coming up soon, but your playoff picture is right there. You're just right there at the skin of your teeth, so you just got to keep putting in that effort.
And actually, Saturday night, a 6-1 loss, had an opportunity, speak with a couple of the boys after the game and kind of just, keep working, guys. The hockey gods are real, or we're going to say they are, and just not really pointing the finger and doing the right thing, doing the things right now to get the Mustangs on the side of the hockey gods. And Brandon, compare, this is your second season up in the broadcast booth in the NA3 AHL, my third, and this is only my second, what we'll call a full season, because my first season was a shorter season, more compact due to COVID. But you liken it to a like Major League Baseball schedule. It's a long season. Granted, we don't play 5 days a week, 6 days a week. You play a couple games a week, but you start in mid-September and you end in early March. That's a pretty big window. And some of these guys are like, yeah, it's the dog days of winter. And I said it last year too. You kind of hit those dog days of winter, and it just seems like games just drag and drag and drag. And then one day it just snaps and everything smooths out. Do you feel that too, kind of with the way the season is?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, if you remember too, last season with the Mustangs, I believe it was the last four games of the season, when they were in the playoffs, they had solidified their spot. Um, I believe two games against Wausau, the
Hmm.
Mustangs had lost, and the last two were against, was it Oregon or was it Milwaukee? I can't remember.
end of the season, they went on that they lost one game in regulation after Christmas break, and that was to Wausau the last weekend of the regular season at
That's
home.
right.
They lost
Yeah.
one in regulation, one in overtime, if memory serves.
Yes.
I don't have it sitting on a plate in front of me, but if memory serves, and that's the thing is like we'll get into Wausau here real quick, but you get into those the longer day,
It is.
the shorter days, but the season starts to feel kind of drug out, and games seem like they're never going to end. And then you just hit that one point, you hit that one win, that special moment in the season, and then it just flies right out. And before you know it, you're done.
Yeah, exactly as you're saying. Yeah, the last couple of weekends they had last season, February 25th, 26th in Oregon, 2-0 victory, and then a 2-1 overtime win. But it was the last weekend, March 4th and 5th, at the Owens Center, where they lost an overtime game to Wausau and lost an overtime or lost a regulation game, also 3-2 to Wausau. But you could tell in the last four games of the season that they weren't the confidence and the effort just wasn't there from what it was after the Christmas break, as you mentioned, only losing one game in regulation up until that point. And call me, a weird hockey broadcaster kind of superstitious guy, but if you want to hit the rough patch, these are the times you want to hit it because now you have the next 5, 6 weeks of the season to, kind of work out those kinks before the playoffs. If you
Yep.
get everything straight and you get the momentum flowing into the playoffs, I mean, this Mustangs team, when they get on a roll, they get on a roll. It's hard to beat them. So it's definitely something they just got to work out, keep working at, and like you said, the hockey gods will pay it forward, and hopefully a deep playoff run is in store.
And you said that, get this out of the way and jump into the playoffs and dance your way through. And I don't remember if it was JD Duenwald or Massimo Palestina said, I'd rather do this now than in 3 weeks. So you're kind of on the same wavelength there. But looking at Saturday night, 6-1 loss. Second time in the last 4 games, Mustangs have scored first. And you think getting that first goal, Mustangs got that first goal, and then late in the first period, Rochester with a power play goal, and then it just kind of went downhill from there for the Mustangs as Rochester put in 3 in the second, 2 in the third. Cam again had a good start. The numbers aren't probably what he would like to see as he stopped 22 of 28, but moving forward, I mean, every goaltender we've had step between the pipes this season, Cam, Case and Yamada, Joe Ambrofi have had really, really good starts. They just, again, I'm going to use the same terminology. The chips just haven't fell in their favor at some point in time during a contest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this weekend you got to give, stick taps to Tate Cawthorn as well on the Rochester side. I mean, he kept the team in it for sure. Now, granted, he wasn't tested as much as the Mustangs would have liked, but still on Saturday night, as you mentioned, Mustangs getting the first goal. I mean, that came real early in the period. Yeah, just a minute and six in Ethan Chesney with the Mustangs goal. So, as a goalie, getting off to that rough start, you kind of want to capitalize on that as an opposing team, but Cawthorn stuck with it and stopped the next 20 some odd, I believe 21 shots straight for the Mustangs and just kind of stood on his head. And like you mentioned, Cam, not a bad game, not a bad game at all. I mean, there were points where the game was still close, and he was making the saves, making that first save, not allowing the rebounds to keep the Mustangs in it, and chips just didn't fall in his favor.
On the weekend, total Mustang 1 for 8 on the power play. Law of averages say 12.5% on that one. Penalty kill looked like they were hitting on all 8 cylinders. They were 7 out of 9 in success rate, 77.8%. That's a little bit below the season average, but small sample size in a 2-game weekend set. So Mustangs giving up 2 power play goals on Saturday night in that 6-1 loss against Rochester. Turning the calendar forward here just a little bit, Mustangs on the road this weekend up in lovely Wausau, Wisconsin. This series has been a weird series as we kind of scratched the surface a little bit ago. Mustangs at home in their last 4 against Wausau. Wausau has won 2 in regulation, 2 in overtime, but you flip the script and head up to Marathon Park up in Wausau, and The Mustangs have not lost in regulation since November 12th of 2021 up there. So quite a while, but since the Mustangs have lost in regulation, these two teams met up in Marathon Park the 11th and 12th of this past November in 2022. Mustangs outscored the Cyclones 10-2 in that series, a 5-0 shutout for Case and Yamada, and then Joe a 5-2 win. Joe's been pretty steady between the pipes against this against Wausau teams. He's 3-3-0 career against Wausau with 2 shutouts. Looking ahead to this weekend, Mustangs 2-1-1 against Wausau this season. Do you think the boys are going to go up there looking for a little bit of redemption for that series sweep Wausau had down in Peoria right around Christmas?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe the one loss was 6-0. And that was, just a rough game to watch overall. And we mentioned during the broadcast, not a lot of positives to take away from that game. Knowing what's at hand, knowing that the playoff spot is up for grabs, knowing you can get revenge in an away barn. And I know Wausau gets a good attendance as well. They get about 400 per game, so it's going to be rowdy in there. And to go into another team's barn where, again, like you mentioned, the last time they were there, swept Wausau 10-2, outscored them. Confidence might be back when you're in there, and this is your opportunity to turn that momentum around for the rest of the season and kind of just carry forward and play the Mustang way.
And there's, as you mentioned too, huge implications on this weekend set with the Cyclones. If if the Mustangs can go up there and take both games, they punch their ticket. They're into the playoffs. They can kind of turn a little bit of focus, although you take it series by series, but a little bit of that focus can get ready for the playoffs. If you're head coach Steve Ortman, associate head coach Blake Ortman, assistant coach Clint Rui, what's the word you're preaching this week through practice, the bus trip there, and when you get up to Wausau, Wisconsin?
Effort, effort, effort. You want to see a 60-minute effort. You know, no matter what the score is in a game, right? You're gonna want to see good reps, right? Whether you're winning 6-1, whether you're down 6-1. If you get a power play, you're gonna want to see it execute. If you're on the penalty kill, you're gonna want to see it execute to perfection. If you're not giving your 100% effort in those situations, you might not give 100% effort when it's a tight game and when it counts. So no matter what the situation is, you're going to want to put your heart and body out on the line for 60 minutes of play, and you should come out successful.
And I think we talked about it just a little bit over the past weekend. The magic number is 7. And that's what makes this series coming up there's a big series. I mean, you're going to have opportunities down the road regardless of the outcomes, but if the outcomes aren't in your favor, you're going to have more opportunities coming up. You got Milwaukee coming to town, and we'll get a little bit into that here a little bit later. But are you focusing on that number going up there? Or are you just saying let's get in and out with 4 points no matter how we have to get the 4 points?
Yeah, no, I'm focusing on the 4 points. That's the most important thing. Um, because, like you mentioned, there's opportunities throughout the rest of the season. You have 4 weekends of hockey in February, and then 1 weekend in March. So you're talking what, 10 games um, that you're playing for the rest of the season. And like you said, the magic number is 7. So it's not so much hyper focus on that playoff spot. It's hyper focus on playing the right way and getting 4 points when you can.
And getting that W train back on the rails as well. I know it's eaten at a lot of guys. And, going back to like you were saying about, staying in the details and whether you're up 6-1, whether you're down 6-1, or whatever the score may be. I've heard 2 very wise men that coach hockey say this very important phrase. I don't care if we win 1-0 or if we win 12-0, it looks the same in the win column. So, heading up there this weekend, I think the Mustangs, they know they have work to do. And I was at the Owens Center earlier this week, had an opportunity to chat with a couple of the guys, just casual conversation. They're ready. They're absolutely pumped up, and they're ready to go up there and light the lamp and put some pucks in the back of the net and get these monkeys off their back right now. Brandon, looking ahead, we're going to talk about big promotion coming up at the Owens Center, the 10th and 11th of February, Alzheimer's Awareness weekend. Mustangs are going to wear specialty jerseys, and this will go live online this coming Sunday. And I can't even put a teaser out. I've seen the jerseys, and I'm going to tell everybody that's watching right now, they look fantastic. You'll see them Sunday at 12 noon. So 12 noon on our social media things. But looking ahead to that weekend, Milwaukee in town, Brandon, huge weekend, a great cause for Alzheimer's. What are you looking for that weekend as far as crowds go and just the atmosphere in the Owens Center?
Exactly. I'm looking for a big positive atmosphere. I mean, whenever Mustangs, whether there's a promotion or not, you always get a good crowd and the fans are always into it. But when you put a cause behind it and a positive cause like you're talking about, I mean, there's going to be people that are going to show out and just, put the energy in the atmosphere for the boys. I'm sure they're going to appreciate all those fans coming out.
And that's the 10th and 11th of February, Friday, Saturday. Friday night's game, 7 o'clock game. Saturday night's game, 6 o'clock game. Both nights, the Friday night, Saturday night game, the teams are going to wear these specialty jerseys. It's going to be an online auction, and I'm going to flash the actual address down here. So the address to bid on these jerseys is mustangsjersey@gmail.com. The rules to the auction are fairly simple. Bidding stops at 5 p.m., although you can bid after 5 p.m., but anything after 5 p.m. will go on the next day's bid. And then the bids will be released at around 6 o'clock every evening. There will be a sheet posted on our social medias that says what the highest bid is. So you can kind of go off that, get your favorite player's jersey, get your son's jersey, your grandson's jersey. I could see some grandparents and some parents kind of bumping heads to get somebody's jersey in there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, right, it's all for a good cause. It is. So, definitely bid on those jerseys. I know I'm gonna throw my hat in the mix for a couple. I got a couple ideas so far. So, my parents were talking about wanting a jersey. So,
And also a couple other tidbits. There's going to be a special raffle, and I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna say what this special raffle is. It's a really, really cool item. Kind of had a little light bulb go off above my head, and I got with a friend of mine. Got a great raffle coming up too, and I think that'll be a both night thing, and we'll announce the winner of that raffle online. So it's going to be purchasing, if I could speak, purchasing raffle tickets, and then announcing a winner online of this special gift. So keep an eye on Mustang social media forums as well for that. And then Sunday, 12 o'clock noon, the real life jerseys, not the artistic rendition, will be released on Mustang social media, and the auction will officially start at that point in time. It's going to go from this coming Sunday to Sunday the 19th, 12 noon to 12 noon. So plenty of time to watch the auction, and also come out the 10th and 11th of February, support a good cause, and support this Peoria Mustangs teams. But for now, we are out of time. Brandon, hey, thank you for your time. Greatly appreciate it. This is Around the Stable, Coach's Show, a Peoria Mustangs podcast.